Hello and welcome to the third video on the multiplayer framework plugin. We're going to start the video by fixing the error that I did in the previous video. So it's not a major one. I put the content in the content folder of the actual project, not in the content folder of the plugin. So we're just going to move this stuff over and then check that nothing's broken. If you cannot see this plugin's directory, you can just go to settings here and show plugin. So that'll show the folder. So if we go to our plugin, the multiplayer menu or whatever you've called it, we're just going to recreate this directory structure here except for the map. So we're just going to create framework. So we're going to the data and we're just going to move this over. And we're going to get we're just going to get a warning here. And that's telling us that there is references in the config INI. So we'll have to check those and make sure they update correctly. And it will be the same for, and this will be the same because the policies are referenced in a UI, in a config. So once we've moved those over, we'll jump out to the C++. We need to go to our default game, and this is no longer game here. This will be the mod name. And if you're ever trying to work out folders and how to, what to create, you can actually in the editor here, so if you've got, say, for the policy, for example, we can copy here and just do copy reference. And if we just paste this in here to see what we get, it gives you the reference that you'll need. So you don't need the quote and you don't need the start part, obviously. It's just the directory, so it'd just be that, and that's what I've got there. It doesn't have the C on the end. That makes a difference. Let's find out. And then the other warning that we got was for the game mode. So we're going to just go up to the default engine.ini and you'll have some references at the top here. So at the moment, they're all pointing to the wrong directory, but if I go back into the editor, we go to preferences and we just re-select these and game instance. Oops, wrong one. That should be enough to update them. So we'll see if that's changed. Maybe not, or maybe because I had it open, I don't know. It hasn't changed, so all we need to do is the same as this one. We just need to point it to our multiplier menu. The map can stay the same. We could create a map in our plugin, but I don't know, maps kind of, if you had sort of some map that was the background to a generic menu or something, but I don't know, to me the map is something that's, like unique to a game. So I'm not going to put it in mine. You can move it over if you want. Oh, you can see the game instance one updated, probably because I selected something different first, I'd say. Oops, that's the test map. Don't want to do that one. So it's just the two game mode ones there. That should be fine. So then that fixes up that minor mistake there. Pretty easy to do. You've got to be careful when you're creating a C++ classes too, to not do it in the source of the project. Because the project in the case of making a plugin is just a place to make the plugin. It's not, you don't really use it. So I'm now going to import my button from a previous tutorial. If you don't want the button and you want to create your own button, that's fine. If you want to go do the button tutorial, it's just a material and a button, and it uses some of the common UI styles and things to do the button setup. So if I go to that project, this is the button. So we're just going to bring over some of this stuff here to use, and I'm going to use it for the UI that we're going to create. But you can use any button, you create your own button, you don't have to do this part, you don't have to go do that tutorial. So what I'm going to do is just migrate this stuff over. So I'm going to highlight these styles. I'm going to go Asset Actions, Migrate, and it's asking what do I want to migrate. I want to migrate them all. So then I'm going to go to my multiplier plugin, and I'm going to go to my plugins, my multiplier menu plugin, and I'm going to choose the content directory to migrate into. And then I'm going to do the same for the materials. We're not going to be able to do the widget because it'll just break. So we're just going to do the materials. Let's do those three. Asset actions again, migrate. And this will bring in all our UI material lab stuff that I used in the tutorial. And then multiplier menu content. and that's it. And then the reason why we're making a plugin, by the way, is so it avoids this sort of issue where you have to, you can't migrate things to a new project easily. I can migrate to C++ easy, but widgets and things tend to break in Unreal Engine 5. Can't remember if you could migrate stuff successfully, but by putting it in in the content folder here, when we bring in the plugin, it'll bring all the content and all the UI and all that intact. So I'm going to go to C++ now, and I just want to recreate that button. So I'm going to recreate the button C++. So I'm going to create a new class. It's going to be, what did I call it? It was S button base widget, and it's going to inherit off the common button base. And I'm going to put it in just a normal, not in the framework, just in a UI slash menu directory. So I'm not going to go through all this again, but if you are following along and copying it from that other project, I'll just show you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to come into my button base widget, and I'm going to just copy it the whole lot to a multiplayer plugin project. Copy that in, and we'll need to just include some board declarations, and the rest should be good. And then in the previous project, we were using the H file for some defines, but I'm going to migrate them to my static game data. So if I go back to the UI project, I can come into the strategy game, and this is what I want to copy over. It's just some defines for the material settings. Just going to put this in here. And then when I go to the CPP, I'm going to and I've got the same names for the class, so I don't have to edit anything. But if you've changed the name of the class, you can just update these paths to find replace or something. So now these params, then they need to point to our static game data. So we'll include that. And we just need to include the common border, the common text block. I think that is it. That should be good. So I think we'll fire up or relaunch the editor now, and we can recreate that button widget. Right now, back in the editor, we can go to, so I forgot to delete those folders. I'm just gonna get rid of all those. Oh yeah, make sure you clean up the redirectors, and then we can just delete those. So they'll stop us accidentally going in there again. So now we can see we've got the material, the styles in here. That's what we just migrated. And we want to create a directory for our UI. And we'll create another directory in there for our menu. And in here, we are going to create a widget blueprint, which is our button again. So it's the S button base. And I'm going to call it just W button base. So in here, we're going to use the common border and overlay and common text. And this will have the names that required, button text block. And this is the button border. And we're going to change this to desired. We'll set the button to something, 364, 64. Just on the base, we want to have the clear, which gets rid of that button. And then we can assign some just default text here. So just say, and this will be our UI material that we just migrated over. So it'll be just default. Yeah, and then the button border. I don't think there's much we need to change in there. That should bring the brush over. Oh, actually no, we do need to change how it's drawn. That's why it's not showing up. So we're going to set the drawer as box and the margin to 0.5. And then I don't think there's anything we need to change on the overlay unless there's some default padding maybe. Take that off. And then the text, we're going to add some padding. So I'm going to add 64 left and right and 15 up and down. We'll center the text and we'll set the style of the style. I think it was H3 or 4, can't remember. But yeah, you can set that to whatever you like, and then we can, center it and do whatever. There we go. So that's our button. So I'm just going to cut this video here, and then in the next video we'll crack straight into starting to set up our widgets for creating a host session display. You can join me on Discord or sign up to my Patreon where you can get access to all my tutorials early and project files.